I was really lucky to have a friend named Sammy Brunaski. He's still my friend. He's a comedian, but he also is an amazing musician. But he was the first person who ever told me I could sing. Because before that, everyone told me, oh God, don't sing. Your singing is horrible. Like, I wanted to sing, and I would try to sing, and they'd tell me I couldn't sing. So he told me I could sing, and I was like, oh my God, like, this changed everything, because I wanted to sing so badly, but I was getting so discouraged. I would play bass with so many singers on gigs, and I would try to sing harmony, or they'd catch me singing and go, oh, you're not a singer. And they'd even say, your songs are for singers. You should let me sing them. Someone said that to me. But then I really worked on my singing because of this one friend believing in me. And it changed everything.
Hello and welcome to Working to Work, a neurodivergent journey through employment. I'm Sam, host of this project, and I want to welcome you if you're listening on Resonance 104.4 FM, on the podcast feed, or watching on YouTube. Today, my guest is Joanna Sternberg. Joanna is an illustrator, a musician, and as they'll speak to in the introduction to this episode, they do other things as well. I wanted to speak to Joanna because the way they speak about their life in their music, it very much resonates with me. And I think other neurodivergent individuals in particular will find a resonance in both Joanna's music and also the way that they speak about their experiences, both past and present. So I was really grateful that Joanna was willing to offer me the time to speak with them about their music, about being neurodivergent, about what that diagnosis of neurodivergent conditions has offered them, and also where perhaps like there are challenges in relation to that. It's interesting also to learn a little bit about Joanna's journey, how they kind of came to the success that they have, what were the steps, because I think that can be useful for others that maybe don't have that context or maybe would benefit from hearing someone else's story to give them ideas for how they might realize what they're looking to do. Oh, and please subscribe, like, comment, all of those things that help bring some more engagement to the project and help spread it, because again, I feel the more that listen and the more people that engage and hear these ideas and different experiences, the more impact it can have, and the potential for greater understanding of different needs, different ways of experiencing the world can hopefully come of it. So thank you for doing those things if you do, and if not, that's fine too. You still get the pleasure of listening to Joe talk to me now. Joe, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me.
For sure.
How do you like to introduce yourself and what you do?
I guess I usually sometimes forget what I do, but I guess I put it out in this really annoying way where it's just like singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, visual artist. But just sounds kind of annoying already, but that is what I do.
Why do you think that sounds annoying?
Oh, I guess like that. Well, I used to like have just a hyphenated is a little bit annoying. It's like, okay, calm down. But it's also like what I could do, and those are the only things I really can do. So it's basically saying those are all the things I do in the whole life of me. So I can't do anything else.
Does that question scare you at all when someone asks, what do you do? I hate asking it
to people, but I preface it by saying I hate asking this, but I just ask it because I'm interested to know. But people some people would be really embarrassed to be like, I'm so embarrassed. Oh my God, it's not even cool. I'm like a neurosurgeon. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, what? Why don't you think that's cool? Everyone's insecure of what they do, I've found out. I've got me in the morning, I've got me in the evening, I'll let you be because I've got me, and all my faults faults and flaws and lies are no one's fault but mine. Between self-hatred and self-awareness is a very small, thin line. I can't stop my worry and my fury of all that I've done wrong. I waste so much time, I mean it, so much time. I've got me in the
So first I wanted to talk a little bit about the themes in your music. Your song, I've Got Me, from my perception, feels deeply tied to kind of finding self-compassion and navigating challenges, which I feel would resonate with a lot of neurodivergent people, particularly those that maybe are in a kind of what's termed like an unmasking process where they're kind of trying to maybe re-find
I'm in that right
themselves,
now, and it sucks.
Well, my question is, I wonder whether you see those themes that I mentioned in the song and what inspired you to write it.
I think that song I even wrote when I was undiagnosed, but at the time I was just going through everything, not knowing what the reason was that I was struggling so much and having a lot of trouble with trying to make friends, but nobody really wanted to be my friend until I got good at music. But then once I was good at music, they only wanted to be my friend to meet people I knew. So it's like it was this very complicated thing about really wanting friends and then getting friends, but then realizing they didn't really care about me. And it just has been a thing that keeps sort of happening up till now, unfortunately. And I hate to say that, but I give people 1,000 chances, it's not like it was like one thing that happened. So I was just like that. I was kind of just fed up with feeling so left out. And I was just like, I'm going to stop just hanging out with people who literally call me the R word,
That sucks.
It did suck. It was like, I couldn't even believe it happened.
The lyrics for me make me think very much of not necessarily recognizing that there isn't anyone out there to support, but just that the number one person that needs to be one's supporter is themselves, and to kind of trust themselves and be kind, as you say in the song, to oneself. Did you feel prior to writing this song that was a challenge for yourself?
I felt really happy to write that because at that time I was kind of like I would rather have no friends than be around this treatment. And it made me feel just so much better to put it into a song because it's really hard for me to speak my emotions or even identify them until after I've made a comic or wrote the song. Because before that, I have lots of alexithymia with an ability, like, what am I feeling? And my stomach feels sick. I'm really, I could tell I'm nervous. But what, I can't really phrase it right, but I know I feel sick to my stomach about something. So it's helpful to write it.
I think it's a really profound song.
Thank you so much.
I think it's a really special song, and I think it, I speak for myself, but like it's articulating, I think, as I mentioned, like a feeling and a kind of way of moving forward that many neurodivergent people, I feel, experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. I hate me. Now I know I've always been this way. Made a list of the things you used to say.
mention another song, and maybe you kind of touched on this a little bit in the previous answer, but in People Are Toys to You, you seem to explore vulnerability and how it can leave people open to mistreatment.
Yeah.
When I say vulnerability, I don't mean as any kind of deficit, just being being open, being kind of like trusting in people. I wonder. I wrote. I wonder if does this come from personal experience or something you've observed externally?
Definitely both, but I've realized there's like a food chain where I'll even be like devalued by a person who gets devalued. So I'll even be like the person who's getting devalued by someone else uses me as the person to devalue or something. Like I've seen people be victims of it who do it as well. It could be complicated, but ultimately it's just like, is it really that important to be around people who make you feel more alone than if you're all by yourself?
When I listen to that song, I think about you writing, or I envision you writing about one individual that you like had a relationship with.
Yes,
of some sort.
You're right.
If you were going to speak to Joe from prior to that friendship starting, what would you pre-warn them to in terms of, or what would you offer them to maybe like mitigate some of that kind of harm that you seemingly felt happening?
Oh, I would say run. Run away.
Yeah, you don't need to do anything, just this is not a relationship or a friendship or whatever for you.
Well, the thing I am now is also sober. Before I got diagnosed, I was not sober. And being diagnosed helped me get sober because it validated me about so many things, because I thought everything was my fault, as opposed to me having anything that I was going through that could make things harder for me and make me more prone to being treated a certain way. So I was blaming everything on myself and self-harming with substances, and the substances just made me more blame myself. And also it made me just get another reason to be able to use them. Oh, this person was mean to me, I get to do more coke or whatever. It enabled me in a way too. Not that I enjoyed it, but it just kept me in my ways.
Yeah, that's very relatable. I'm curious how you felt getting diagnosed. When you say getting diagnosed as autistic?
Yeah. And I got diagnosed with ADHD and then with autism years later, but both diagnoses helped. But I think the autism one helped more because the ADHD one, I always had a feeling about that.
That behavior in terms of like not taking care of oneself and kind of finding unhealthy ways to kind of manage the challenges of life and the challenges of people and not feeling good about oneself and etc. And yeah, it very much resonates how you described it. I'm curious how getting that kind of self-awareness, that diagnosis, was able to facilitate kind of reducing like what you, I guess, perceive as kind of slightly self-destructive behaviors.
Totally. Well, before I'd be like, okay, well, if anyone's nice to me, I'm so lucky that they're being nice to me, and I have to be their best friend. But I have to hang out even if I don't have energy, and to get energy and to get the confidence to hang out, I have to drink, or else I can't hang out. And then I had people, realize that the best way to get me to do what they wanted would be to guilt me. So I would be being guilted and then taking it out on myself by drinking or doing whatever I needed to do to make sure I could do what this person wanted. And then all along being warned, hey, this person doesn't care about you and they actually want a different thing from you. Like they want to meet people in the music industry through you, or they want to pretend. I've had all types of people try to do types of things. Not that but I never thought of myself as anyone that could be I didn't think I had any use besides just being a friend. And that was what I wanted from them, so I thought that's what they wanted from me. So I didn't understand what else they could be wanting, but whatever it was, I felt, I better, jump at this opportunity to have anyone be nice to me. But it always involved me needing substances to be able to manage being around them. And usually because there was bad things going on with how they were treating me, or boundary problems with how they were respecting my boundaries. I felt almost like a pet more than a person. Like, if I wasn't there, they'd get angry. If I was sick, they'd get angry. Like, and I get sick a lot. It would be like I was personally hurting them.
I had a coach that has this idea that we all see the world through our own kind of models of reality.
Exactly.
So there isn't necessarily like an objective truth. And I think
right.
When you're often neurodivergent, autistic people are told they're wrong a lot.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And I think that can happen in friendships, it can happen at work, it can happen
Just
in all sorts of scenarios.
Your reality is not real. People saying or not believing you ever.
So when you kind of have that, when you kind of rebuild a bit of that sense of like, okay, others may not see it how I do, but the way I do is still valid.
Yeah, before I'd be like, I must be wrong, and I would just dismiss myself too because everyone else is doing it.
I think I've alluded to this quite strongly already, but I find comfort and resonance in your music, and I believe that's true of other neurodivergent people. I wonder if what you can offer others is something that you consider when you write, or is it more kind of focused on what you want to express, and that's a kind of nice byproduct if it happens?
I think it's equally important because I didn't get any, like, I definitely wrote the songs with the goal of, wow, I really hope, like, that was my goal. And it was just, and the added benefit was, yes, it helps me too. But I wouldn't do it unless I got the feedback I get. The problem now is that I do it and I'm scared that it won't be good enough for people. I'm scared that, like, before, I get scared a lot that my brain is broken, or I can't do it anymore, and the songs I'm writing now are bad, so I get scared to show them to people. But I'm still doing it for the same reason, so I have to get over that.
Do you find the songs you're writing now are different from the album with I've Got Me and People Are Toys to you?
They're only different because I'm so much more self-conscious, because I guess I have more listeners listening to me, which I'm so lucky for, which it's been a blessing and also really scary. It's 'cause the same way I'm scared of pictures of myself, like, because now I'm like, oh no, what if I lost the ability to do it and they won't like me anymore? What if they don't like any my new songs they haven't heard before, So I have whole new insecurities, but I still am doing it for the same reasons. But I think I have gotten a little too much into my fear of, oh no, what if they don't like this? And I hope I'll get out of that soon, because it's been kind of overtaking my brain.
How do you try to go about that, to kind of put aside that self-doubt and try and trust oneself and your kind of creative abilities?
Well, I found that I put out the record and I realized that, like, my health wasn't functioning well enough to do all the things I wanted to do. In my ideal life, I'll be playing jazz on the double bass. I'll be drawing and I'll be writing songs and I'll be playing different instruments. I'll be doing enough things so I don't have the time, but I don't have the mental capacity to worry that much about how it's coming off. But I had to just focus only on my songs to try to be able to tour the album, which was a challenge because I'm very agoraphobic and, my health's been bad. So I had to stop playing double bass and doing all these other things I did for like that year and a half or 2 years up till now. This month, for the first time, I'm going to slowly inch back into all the stuff I do. But I realized I can't really be my true self unless I'm doing all the things that make me able to be creative. And I'm only able to be creative if I'm doing all those things. Because then when I'm really down on myself about one thing, I could do the other thing. So, like, if I'm really down on my drawing, I could start songwriting. And if I'm down on the songwriting, I could play jazz. But it all keeps me doing something without being too self-hating about the other thing. But if I'm only doing the one thing of the songwriting and playing my songs over and over again, it makes me hate all my new songs and just want to I get worn out on myself. So it helps me to have another thing to focus on. Otherwise, I'll just get too down on that one thing.
Just out of my own curiosity, I keep mentioning that I believe that your songs would resonate in particular with neurodivergent people. Is that feedback that you get?
Totally. And I really feel grateful for that because that shows that I was writing about the experience before I knew what it was, which is kind of really meaningful and validating to my life. It's like I wasn't crazy. This was really happening. It's happening to all the other people. And that makes me feel like I'm being useful, too, which makes me really flattered.
Okay, one more question kind of about music in particular. Are there any artists or songs that really resonated with your experience of life or the world? And what was it about their work that spoke with you?
Oh, sure. Well, the artist that resonated with me the most have been the Beatles because I grew up basically raised on them as God. Like I went to Hebrew school, but the Beatles was much more important not to be offensive, but that's just how my life was. And luckily I was obsessed with them just as much as my dad was, and I still am. And so that made me want to do music because I was so obsessed, overly obsessed, reading every book. Like all I cared about was the Beatles. And then I started listening to like Motown and Jimi Hendrix and other music. And then into college, I started listening to Elliott Smith, and that's who made me want to start writing my own songs. Because before then, I would write melodies, but I wouldn't really have any words. I would have like sort of words, but I could like write one phrase I felt connected to, and I didn't know where to go from there. But then with his music, I was like, oh wow, this like inspires me so much. Now I know what I'm going to do because I want to do this because the way he made me feel what I was like the way he made me feel validated in my feelings is really changed my life.
Now on the bus, nearly touching this dirty retreat, falling out, 6 and pallet, dead sweat in my teeth. Gonna walk 4 more blocks, plus the one in my brain. Downstairs to the man, he's gonna make it all okay. I can't be myself, and I don't wanna talk. I'm taking the cure so I can be quiet wherever I want. So leave me alone, you ought to be proud that I'm getting good marks. You lit my hay.
He was raw.
Exactly. And even if you didn't know what the song was about or read his biographies or anything, even if you knew nothing, even if the words are abstract, you still know he's still able to convey the same feeling you feel that if you read the books about him or the stories about him or the testimonials people say who knew him. I get that it's the same. I didn't even need to know about him. I feel the same way now after all I have researched. It's kind of so amazing. His craft is so transparent that you didn't have to know a fact about him to be able to understand the music.
Okay, so just speaking a little bit about the industry in inverted commas, I'm thinking about people that might be listening to this and thinking, well, I'd like to kind of pursue a music career, but maybe it feels challenging because I've felt challenged in work or in social situations. What challenges have you faced, particularly that you think of in relation to being neurodivergent, and what ways have you come to try to navigate them or overcome them?
Right. I think a big thing I faced is the social anxiety, because so much of it, like especially I would say in the jazz world, but also in the songwriter world, is about socializing. Like people, if people are friends, they're going to give a job to their friend, and a lot of it is about hanging out. And there's been times I've been bullied really badly, and a lot of it is being one of the only non-male people in high school. I was the only non-male person in the jazz band, for example, and I found a way to make this work, because I've always been treated all the genders as the same. I never, was like, oh, you're this gender, I'm not going to treat you the same as the other one. But I didn't know that other people not everyone operates that way. So there would be times people just look at me and refuse to play with me because they're like, there's no way this person could play this giant instrument. And I'd have to really overly prove myself for them to finally be like, oh, okay, fine, I'll give you a chance. And then, a month later, they'd hire me to play with them. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Remember when you wouldn't even look at me? Well, not look at me, but remember when when I play, I close my eyes so all the senses go to my ears. And I play these very diva gentlemen who'd be like, look at me. When we're playing, you have to look at me. All these, you wouldn't say that. I know they were treating me in ways they wouldn't treat like a dude. I just know that. And also, I know I don't act conventionally. Not everyone needs to close their eyes when they play, but I do. So there would just be things about me that wouldn't be accepted. I'd have to really go out of my way to prove that I'd have to be too qualified. I've overly qualified to be able to get away with just coping skills.
So yeah, that's, I guess, how you navigated and kind of overcame. I wonder, thinking now, if we're thinking of in a kind of post navigating and overcoming, if the situation were to happen again, I mean, maybe it'd be different because your profile is higher and maybe that changes people's perception of one's ability or how they interact with you. But say it didn't, but you just had kind of overcome those. Do you think now you would feel more comfortable to say, listen, it helps me to focus, to have my eyes closed? Is there something that you need from me in terms of the eye contact? Because in a way, if someone asked, it really helps me to know when we're going to change time signature or something, if you give me a wink in the eye or something like that, which is a different thing, I think.
Right. In this case, they were talking about me following them, but it's I can't see your fingers, so how is me looking at your face gonna tell me it? It's almost offensive. For example, they'd shout out chords to me. I know the chord. You don't have to shout it at me. It's stuff like that would be completely, it was almost for their comfort from their peace of mind to know that I would know what chord to go to, because if they didn't yell it at me in front of everyone, there's no way I could play the correct chord.
Yeah, to me, it sounds a bit like they needed it for their ego as well.
That too. And so now for example, asking to not be on camera for interviews for me is a big deal. And I feel bad even asking, but it does make me so much the difference of the interview is night and day.
We've spoken a little bit about kind of where you're at now in terms of feeling maybe a bit less confident in the new songs, but if we go back to the previous album, what helped you build confidence and perseverance in terms of writing and completing those songs and then getting it to a point where it got put out and you supported it? What helped you kind of keep that trust in your ability and what you were doing and stay the course?
Right. Well, I guess the lucky, as you know, being autistic, drastic changes can be really traumatizing. So I think it all happened so gradually, but then when the album came out recently, it was also fast. And I think I couldn't even process what was going on as it was happening. So I was really lucky with the pace it went at. Everything happened sort of at the right speed, and I would write a bunch of songs, and then I'd get my first tour, and then I'd write another few songs. But then, I can only really focus on one thing at a time. I can't do everything at once. So that kind of, I thought I could, but I had to fix my addiction, and then I had to fix all the health problems that came from all my addiction problems, and then it was oh crap, I can't do everything at once without literally killing myself. So I have to, but now now I've been stuck in so much processing of everything that's happened, trying to figure out what's happened, and I just can't move forward and write until I've really figured out how I feel about stuff. So it just all requires a lot of processing. So the more drastic the change, the more I need to process it. But if I have had enough time or the right clarity to process it, I don't feel comfortable releasing the music yet, kind of. But also, there are more people now who know my songs, and there's more people I could potentially disappoint who might not like me anymore. It's the same way I feel as if I had, let's say I had a friend and I hung out with them once and they seemed to really like me. I'd still be very nervous to hang out with them again. What if they don't like me this time? So it's that same insecurity of just, like, one of my favorite cartoonists ever is always scared that every cartoon she draws is going to be the last good one she'll ever think of. It's like that same insecurity. What if I can't do this tomorrow? Like, what if I lose the ability to do this? Because unfortunately, it's not very easy for me to just command my brain to do what I want when I want to do it.
Yeah. What do you do in that situation? And say just as the scenario that you posed just then with the friend that you make, and then the next time you see them, do you, like, I guess, sorry to bring it back to me, but just to, maybe it helps.
No, it helps me. I'm interested too.
Like, I guess in that instance, I would try to not be too hard on myself for feeling that kind of anxiety about it, or the kind of fear that, that it might not go as well, or they might not like me, but also remind myself that all I need to be is myself effectively in this interaction.
Right.
And
that's really true.
Yeah, if they don't like me, well, I guess we weren't a good matching.
Exactly.
Like, I only really want people to like me on the basis of this is who I am.
Right.
So it's kind of like I'm trying to make it a bit more rational in a way, and that helps with a bit of the anxiety. Like, hey,
it really
show up
helps.
as yourself. If they don't like it, well, that's not someone you want to hang with anyway.
But also, I've noticed people have been I have also tried to do this thing in my brain of, are people lying to me now more that I've been getting any sort of quote unquote success, or did they lie to me more before that? And I think it's in the end a draw, because now, whereas before I could send my songs to friends and they'd be like, I really prefer that one, or I really prefer this one. Now they'll just be all them, oh, that's amazing, great, amazing. They're not going to be as honest now. So I don't have the same sounding board of friends to be honest with me about how they feel about my songs, or there's been a lot of people who have been kind of, I guess, greedy and wanting things from me, and then maybe they will like my song, but they'll tell me it sucks just to hurt my feelings.
Give me your hand and I'll give you mine. Follow me in my bottle of wine, and we'll dance 'neath the stars, dance 'neath the stars. Haven't got a care, breathing country air, holding hands with you. This is a memory we'll share. Tell me secrets and tell me your dreams. I'll tell stories of my various schemes. I love clowning around, clowning around. I have my whole life long. I'll keep it going on every day. I make someone laugh so hard that they cry out tears, and their stomachs hard. As I dance with you, I'll make you laugh too, and you'll finally see I make you happy. This is a fantasy, it's true. Let us giggle and look at the lake. Hope I'll see that your smile ain't fake. Life is a dream, life is a dream. Nothing can go wrong, nothing can go wrong. We'll catch frogs and sit on logs, and our night will last long.
In terms of the building confidence and perseverance, And in a kind of really practical way, if there was a musician thinking like, I've got these songs, like I'd love people to hear them. I think they could be of value to them. And
Yes.
I would love to kind of, make this something that supports my life monetarily. What would you advise? What was your route to kind of getting to where you are now?
Totally. I would say what I would do is work it up to having at least 5 songs and then add in 5 cover songs. And on your birthday, throw a concert for your friends where you debut these songs. Because it's your birthday, they're going to come anyway, so it's not like they came to a concert. They can leave the room if they don't like it, and then after you'll all hang out. That's what I did to first play my songs, and it was really, really good because all these people were there because it was my birthday. And I did it, and I didn't know if they'd like it, and it turned out great. And also and it's your birthday, so you feel like a little more support there too. But I think before doing that, send the songs, if you have any people that you trust at all, like even if it's your sibling or your parent or your aunt, just have one person that you send it to that you feel like you could send the song to, who could give you feedback. And if the feedback they're giving you is making you feel bad about yourself, pick a different person. Don't keep sending it to someone who's making you, feel discouraged. But try to find the right people to send it to at first.
Who was the right person for you?
Well, I was really lucky to have a friend named Sammy Bernaski. He's still my friend. He's a comedian, but he also is an amazing musician. And Sammy Bernaski, he's on TikTok and on YouTube, and he makes movies, and he plays saxophone, really amazing. But he was the first person who ever told me I could sing, because before that, everyone told me, oh God, don't sing, your singing is horrible. Like, I wanted to sing, and I would try to sing, and they'd tell me I couldn't sing. So he told me I could sing, and I was like, oh my God, like, this changed everything, because I wanted to sing so badly, but I was getting so discouraged. I would play bass with so many singers on gigs, and I would try to sing harmony, or they'd catch me singing and go, oh, you're not a singer. And they'd even say, your songs are for singers, you should let me sing them. Someone said that to me. But then I really worked on my singing because of this one friend believing in me, and it changed everything.
I feel like I heard you say at some point that you would sing in a more conventional style, but then someone helped you kind of recognize actually the uniqueness of, because you've got a very unique voice. Like, it would be,
thank you.
I don't want to criticize, but it would be less interesting in a way if you were singing, kind of aping someone else's style. What makes those songs in part is your delivery is so, I don't know, natural and authentic and unique.
Thank you. I would say, at first when people are singing is really scary because you're not everyone just opens their mouths and sings in their real voice. Like, there's a lot of people you hear now, like, they're copying the way, the latest famous pop stars sing. And there's sometimes ways they pronounce words weird. Like, you'll hear on the radio, like, why are they pronouncing these words like that? They don't speak like that. Like, there's trends in pronouncing, or, there's like in American Idol, there was all these people trying to do Stevie Wonder like runs, and they're singing, but they're not Stevie Wonder. They can't really do it like him, but so there'll be trends, and people will do those trends, but that's not necessarily their actual taste or their actual voice. But I was listening to lots of Nina Simone, and I can't sing like Nina Simone, but I wanted, in my delusional mind, that's what I was imagining it sounded like, or whatever I thought was, it was definitely a lower voice, and it wasn't my natural voice, because I was doing an affected thing, trying to sing in a certain way that I thought would be less embarrassing, but it turned out to be more embarrassing and more out of tune. Are you a musician too, Sam?
Yeah.
Oh, so what is your...
Sorry, I'm still slightly hypnotized by your drawing. It's so nice. It's so relaxing to do this.
You.
I should ask every interviewee to just
you
the
have
drawing.
to draw. Hey, you know what? This is great for me too, because now I can offer this for interviews, and it makes me comfortable too.
What, if any, changes have you identified in the music industry that you would like to see change, that might benefit more neurodivergent musicians and provide more kind of access and opportunity for them?
I think there's just needs to be so much more awareness about, like, just awareness and equality about different and the reason things are considered disabilities to begin with are just because they're the minority, and the majority of people are able-bodied or able-minded or able whatever, and the world was not created for people with our kinds of brains, or people with a certain body type, or people who can't use certain parts of their body, and there's just not any awareness at all. And people are usually literally, people with dwarfism get called slurs online, and people think that's okay still to this day. And it's very disturbing. There's a lack of, everyone's like, oh, equality and preach equality and cancel culture, but not for these people. Like, they're the one, like, so there's such a long ways to go for people to feel safe. And if you don't feel safe at, like, just the baseline of human safety, you're not going to go wanting to perform your music, if you don't feel safe. And I felt less and less safe the more I do this, which is saying a lot, because I get treated pretty nicely now with the way things are going. But I'm also processing so much. Now I'm able to process everything that has happened leading up to this, where I wasn't treated nicely, and I'm finally able to admit what has happened. So it's this weird thing of, I'm really lucky for how I'm being treated now, but I'm also so sad and kind of disturbed looking around at the state of things. So just people have to be interested, I think, in other people that aren't like.
Yeah, how do you? And it's a big question. Like, I couldn't answer this question necessarily. Like, what are ways that can happen? How do we engage people in thinking, being interested, being more open to people whose life experiences is different to theirs?
I think there's also a lot of this weird thing now online where, like, everybody's trying to, like, there's a lot of famous celebrities are known for being very whiny and complainy, and everyone, like, they censor themselves in this really weird way, and they say they're very charitable, but they're always just complaining, and they're not bringing any like, there's things going on in the world in front of people's eyes, and nobody even talks about it or notices it. And people still use harmful words, and then if they get called out on it, they get so defensive and they attack back. Rather, everyone's in such an attack mode that any bias they might have is probably lingering underneath a dangerous floorboard of them faking this accepting sort of mindset of being very woke. But let's say they do have a racist or, ableist mindset. They're not going to show it. They're going to go out of their way to pretend they don't think that way. And it's going to come out in these weird ways. And people will feel tokenized or marginalized, or people can tell when they're being treated strangely, even if the other person thinks they're getting away with how they're behaving. And I think people have to realize that if you think another person isn't smart, that's probably not very smart of you. Be careful, because people are way smarter than you think they are, especially autistic people.
I cannot stay awake. I cry till I weep. I shiver and I I think of you, I think of you, think of you. It's all that I can do, and Lord knows I've tried. I'm trying hard to change. I wish I knew why I always stay the same. This is not who I wanna be. This is not who I wanna be. I am slowly killing me. No, this is not who I want to be. I wish I was scared.
Okay, my next question was for aspiring neurodivergent musicians. What advice would you offer in respect of realizing their goals?
The internet is a great resource because if you feel weird about something, you could just delete it. There's so many things I put up and then I delete it, and it's okay. But share things and put your name on it. If it's an art piece, write your name on it so no one steals your work. But use the internet as much as you can to promote yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like there's maybe musicians that have music, but they don't know necessarily how to get it out there. And
Right.
I think that's a challenge for everyone. But what would you offer someone that's like, hey, I really believe in this. I just need to find kind of the right person, because maybe it's not for everyone, but the right person will be able to help me get it out there so that those that it will resonate with can hear it.
Well, whatever city you live in, start performing, going to open mics, setting up shows, finding other artists to set up shows with together. If they're other friends of yours and you like their band, you could do a show together and your friends will come. That's great. Post videos of yourself playing your songs on YouTube. Like, just simple acoustic videos are always the best. If just solo, you playing your song, if you can do that. Or I think it's just always great if you, like, bands are, I never really had a band, really. I've tried. I've always wanted one. But if you have a band or you could do solo, either thing, it's the same band or solo. That's an artist. A band is an artist too, as one. So as many videos as you can, just performing, to then people see what you're doing. It. It's not like I think it could maybe sometimes damage people if they're like hiding behind an image and it's not their real name and there's never a video of them doing it. So it's like, oh, you have this project, but it's called like Cockroach Friend and it's a picture of a hamster. Like, who is that? Like, it's hard for people to remember. There's so many things. So I think using my own name was a lucky move. Like, I tried to use all these different names at the beginning, making silly band names, but using my own name really helped me. Using your own name and just having one photo of you at least. You don't have to have more than one. Or one video of you playing you don't need that many, but just to show that you're actually doing this. I don't post frequently now, so I'm being a hypocrite, but I used to post every day. So, like, try to post as much as you can, but I post videos of me playing, or I'd post covers I'd play, or I'd post drawings, but I always post something I created as much as I can, but don't do it more than once a day or once every other day, or people get annoyed and might start getting annoyed. That's happened to me. I'm just saying from experience. I'm not saying it will happen to someone else, but also TikTok now is really, I like TikTok. I think it's fun.
I've only sampled TikTok a tiny bit and it was like a kind of sensory overload. There was a lot going on.
Right, no, totally, because the minute you go, it's not calming. It's hard to use because of the way it's spaced out. The reason I like it is if you type in I'm very into pop culture in like a silly way. I think it's just mind-numbingly silly. So like, for example, like the whole stuff now with Justin Baldoni, I'm following that very closely. And I type it into TikTok, Justin Baldoni. I see all these people just film themselves talking in selfie videos of their opinions, and anyone can just be a reporter, and just really smart, everyday people, with no platforms. There's one really funny person on TikTok called DJ Hungry Human. I think she might work in with flowers or plants. I don't know what she does for her job, but it's always her in her office just talking at her phone about pop culture, and she's just so funny. And she's just got a following of people who just think she's hilarious. That's the thing I like about the internet. Anyone could become big on there just by being themselves.
It's difficult to be oneself though. Even not even. I struggled when I'm recording some of these videos to just be relaxed and be myself, because actually myself would be a lot less concise potentially. And
I think that you're really great at what you do, and I think that you're probably your own biggest critic, because you remind me of myself, the way you're reacting to your own interview, how you're treating yourself as an interviewer is kind of how I treat myself as an artist. I feel like I'm very hard on myself, but also you're a musician. So what is your project called?
I did the faux pas that you said not to do. I called it.
Oh, no, it's not. I promise it's not a faux pas. It's not a faux pas, I swear. It could be great. I mean, look at Grimes.
I just picked a soccer player that I really liked at the time.
Oh, who?
His name was Salomon Kalou. So it's Kalou.
Oh my gosh. So your name is Kalou?
I like it though. It's stuck now.
That's a nice name.
Yeah, it's a nice name.
It's a pretty name.
Between self-hatred and self-awareness is a very small, thin line. I think that's such a poignant line. How do you approach that balance to not be too hard on yourself?
That's the whole problem, because I had this therapist recently, and now I have a new therapist who specializes in autistic and ADHD patients. But my last therapist just helped me get diagnosed and was really great. And she would always say, you're so, in this kind of shocking voice that she was shocked. It seems like you're so self-aware. And I would be amazed by that, because in my mind, yeah, but it's not helping me at all. It's almost worse. Because it's like I'm self-aware that people are lying to me as they're lying to me, and I'm keeping them in my life, and I can't call them out, and they won't stop. And I'm blaming myself. And that makes me just miss when I wasn't diagnosed. And I was like, what if nobody's actually lying? And I was like, that's not true. That can't be happening. It makes me miss when I wasn't diagnosed. And I had this delusion sort of what if the worst possible case scenario isn't true, and I'm not being put in the dark about so much. But I'm glad I know. At least it helps me not drink.
Yeah, no, that resonates as well. I sometimes think I miss 5 years ago or something, and now I can kind of think different people experience the world in different ways and kind of think about it in this way. But there's a part of me, I don't like to go around all the time. I don't go around and every day be thinking about I'm autistic. I try and think very much, what do I need? What do I not in a how do I process? How do I manage this interaction?
Totally. I've only used the word in terms of it explains so much, because all the stuff that I was being like and I was like, whatever anyone else said was true and I was wrong. In my head, I was like, whatever people said, if they said the sky was purple, I'd be like, oh, it's purple. They must be right. There's no way I could be right about anything. And I really thought that, and I still genuinely think that a lot. Even if something happens to me, they'll be like, that never happened. And I'll be like, oh, I guess it never happened. But I thought it just happened. So it's not about the word autistic even. That word just helped me put into words the fact that I'm so like if I'm talking to someone, I don't process what happened sometimes till a year later. And then once I figure out all the puzzle pieces, I'm like, oh, that's what happened. That's what they meant by that.
I think there's something really cool about recognizing one's autistic and then seeing other people that have those same shared experiences, even kind of like maybe a different speed of processing speech, and, you know, recognizing, okay, it's okay that I wasn't able to take in what that person said and I can ask them again. And others, I don't know why, maybe humans are just naturally want to feel that, hey, we're not alone with this, and there is some comfort, I think.
Exactly. And that made me feel so much less self-hating. And now I'm just sad for the past of all the self-hating I did before I realized the reason for it.
Are there any routines or strategies that you've relied on when it's felt like it's just not possible to achieve what you want? I guess when you've been low on confidence to believe like this is possible, what I want to do here.
Right. I think the best thing is a to-do list, because then you do one thing at a time. Like Rome wasn't built in a day sometimes. And then if like with ADHD, you get an endorphin rush by checking one thing off. Like if you do one task, one little thing, even if that's all you could do in the whole day, just one and then you could do another thing. It gives you momentum. So to-do lists and writing things down for me has been, and recording voice memos, documenting, and trying to. You really don't want to see my room, but I'm a hoarder and it's not good. But I really have to work on that. And I'm like preaching organization, and then this is my room. But the point is, I am being more aware of it at least.
Do you journal? Like write out your thoughts?
Yeah, I created my own alphabet because I had this one incident where a friend read my diary. I know nobody wants to read my diary, and then people think I think everyone wants to read my diary. That's not it. It's that, you know, when your eyes look at a word and you can't not read it, it's not like you read it on purpose. But if a thing is lying out, you're like, oh, what's this? It's not like someone did it on purpose. But I had a friend like intentionally read my diary, so then I developed my own alphabet. So I journal in my own alphabet.
I find that difficult just reading books in general, actually, to not like look at the lines below. I'm not trying to skip ahead, but it's just...
Me too!
I wonder if it's a dyslexic thing.
It totally is. I found out also my inability to read maps is also a dyslexic thing.
Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you, Sam.
So that's today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Resonance for broadcasting. Thank you to Joe for being my guest again. And their music is available on Bandcamp and streaming services. Just search Joanna Sternberg. And you can also experience their illustrations on the artwork that they do. Next week, my guest will be Abbas Zahidi, an artist, and I look forward to sharing that one with you. So until next time, I'm Sam, you're the audience, and I'm grateful for you. Speak to you next time.